Hey dancers, welcome back to our channel. I'm Julie and I'm the owner and one of the instructors here at Broche Ballet, a ballet school for adults in Denver, Colorado. Today I want to show you how I like to get warmed up when I'm going to take ballet class. I like to start off with warming up all of my muscles, the big muscle groups that I'm going to use in class, like my turnout muscles, my back, my core, sometimes a little bit of shoulders, and always my feet. I don't like to do too much stretching before class. I like to really get the blood flowing, elevate my heart rate a little bit, get my muscles a little bit more warm, and save the stretching for the middle of class or the end of class. So I like to start off with my turnout muscles. So I lay on the ground on my side and do a little bit of clam shells first. So I'm going to make sure my head is laying on my arm, not going to be up here where my neck will be kind of craned. I want to be laying down nice on my arm. This top arm can just be in front of your body to help stabilize you. You're going to have a little bend in your knees. You don't want them to be too straight or too bent, kind of just halfway in the middle, making sure that your hips are totally stacked on top of one another. Don't let that top hip fall back. Really make sure it stays up. And if you were to put a pole through your knees and your hips, it would be totally vertical and not tipped. So from here, we're going to open that top leg, trying to keep your feet together, trying to keep your toes touching while this is going on. Again, not letting that top hip fall back. I'll do about 10 of these on each side. And once you start getting really strong with this and it gets easier, you can tie a TheraBand between around your legs, right above your kneecap, right in kind of the bottom of your thigh. So we'll do about 10 of these, really trying to warm up the back outside of your thigh. If you're not feeling it there, really make sure that your hip is forward. It's very easy to actually let that hip fall back. Then I like to extend my legs out all the way. I like to lift up that top leg, kind of keeping my legs parallel. You might feel this in the top leg, but it's really to warm up that bottom inner thigh. Then we're going to try to get the bottom inner thigh to touch the top leg. You might feel a core workout when you're doing this too. We're going to really reach that bottom leg up to reach the top leg, warming up that bottom inner thigh, and again, maybe the outer top hip, depending on if you adjust on those clam shells. Again, we're doing about 10 of these. If you want more of a challenge, you can always lift a little bit higher with that bottom leg. Maybe you can hold it and do a couple of pulses up there, just right at the top. About 10 of those. So that's how I like to get my turnout muscles warmed up. I always like to do that on both sides, making sure I get about 10 of each, maybe a little bit extra if it's really early or really cold and I need to get my body warmed up a little bit quicker. Then I like to move on to my back. So I'll flip over onto my stomach and do a little bit of some yoga poses, a little bit of Cobra. Laying here, putting my hands right beneath my shoulders. I'm going to roll my shoulders down. Don't let them be up by your ears. Roll them down and then lift your back off the mat. You're going to keep your glutes engaged during this to protect your lower back as you would during a Cobra. I don't like to hold it for too long. I just like to kind of go up and down, hold a little bit, and then go right back down. You're going to keep your head neutral. I'm looking over just so I can look at you, but when you're doing it, you're going to want to keep your head neutral. Go up as far as you can and then come back down. If you want to hold one and get a little bit more of a challenge, you can try bending your back legs and trying to reach your head to touch your feet. So that I like to use to get my lower back warmed up. Then I like to do a few things for my shoulders. I have pretty tight shoulders. I spend a lot of time at the computer working on things, and so my shoulders tend to get very tight. So I like to take my TheraBand, grab it pretty wide. You can grab this more narrow if you'd like, but I always like to start pretty wide, and I'm going to go up and over my head and around to the back. If you feel anything crunchy in your shoulders or anything weird or popping, then just grab your TheraBand out farther or get a lighter TheraBand. You can even do it with just arm circles. The TheraBand provides a little bit of resistance, but if it's really crunchy in there, you can do it without even. So I like to go up and around about 10 times. And once I've done 10 of these up and around, I like to stop at about horizontal with my shoulders and do just a couple of little mini pulses right there, really opening up my chest, stretching everything, even my forearms. Sometimes I feel this if I'm super tight. And then from there, you can either bring it all the way back up and around, or you can actually just let go of the TheraBand and drop it behind you. So that really helps open up my chest and stretch it out. Then I like to get my upper back, which is always the hardest for me to activate. My upper back never seems to want to pull its own weight, so I like to get it activated before class. So again, I hold the TheraBand pretty wide. I'm going to put it right over where my ribs are, and I'm going to try to get my elbows to touch back there. So I'm going to really bend my arms and try to get my elbows to touch. I'll turn to the side so you can see how it looks from the side as well. So you're really bending those elbows. Try not to stick your ribs out. Try to keep your ribs in while you're reaching back. And then after I've done about 10, I like to hold it and then do 10 more mini pulses back there. So I can really just get the upper back firing, get it really, really nice and warm and get those muscles ready to work for me. So I like to do a little bit of work for my core as well. So by now we've got my turnout, my lower back, my upper back, and my chest open. I like to do a little bit of core work. Sometimes I'll do a plank, sometimes I'll do various different things. My favorite though is one that I learned from my chiropractor. If you haven't already checked out his videos with us, check those out on our channel. All about the core and how to really use these muscles to stabilize your body, which is what we really need for ballet. So I like to go on all fours, and this one's called the bear, and I like to really brace my core, feeling like I'm pushing out on all sides. This is very different from like the Pilates core or the ballet core, where you're kind of trying to pull in and scoop out. This one's actually really trying to expand your rib cage and expand everything in your body, so you're getting all the little nooks and crannies of your abs. This isn't necessarily what you use in ballet class, but it really helps you get strength all the way around your whole middle. So I'm on all fours, and I really brace my core, making sure that my shoulders are flat and not popping out. And then I pick my knees up off the ground. Some mornings, this is all I need to get warmed up in my core. Some days I will kick my legs out straight and kind of warm up that whole chain as well. But a lot of days, even just hanging out in this position is enough to really feel my core start to get active. I'll usually try and take maybe 10 or 12 breaths there, spend about 20 to 30 seconds, and do that about 3 times to really warm my core. Last couple of things, I like to warm up my feet. So I like to start with the TheraBand. I like to really warm up my ankles. I have pretty wiggly ankles, so I have to work pretty hard on keeping them strong. So I'll wrap it around my foot. I'll take my other foot outside of the TheraBand, and then I'll pull it away out to the wing and coming back. Now we're in about a 3/4 point here. We're not all the way pointed, we're not all the way flexed. We're kind of just in a nice middle ground, so we can really work that range of the ankle right here, really working that. You might feel this all the way up here into your calf. That's totally fine. That's where a lot of these muscles connect, because we've got a lot of tendons that run up the side of our leg as well. So I'll do about 10 of these, and then I'll switch to the other direction. So I will take the TheraBand in the same spot on my foot, cross my foot over, and then pull the foot into the sickle range. Again, we're in about a 3/4 point here. We're not all the way flexed. We're in about a 3/4 point, and we're gonna pull that foot in for about 10 times. Sometimes, depending on how much time I have left for class, I will do pointing my foot to the TheraBand. I prioritize this one last though, because my ankles always need to be warmed up and stabilized for me right at the beginning of class. But if I do have time, I will do flexing and pointing into the TheraBand as well. But I always like to make sure I get my ankles in first. Lastly, if I have any more time before class and anything is still funky, I will do a little bit of ball massage. So I have 2 balls that I like to use. This one is a pretty squishy lacrosse ball. It's not an official lacrosse ball, which are super hard. This is like a pretty squishy one. I can actually squish with my hands. And this is just a super ball, like a kid's super ball. It's nothing fancy, just for kids' birthday parties, like what you might find as a party favor. So the lacrosse ball, I'll sometimes do a little bit of release on the outside of my hips. You can do this standing up, or you can do it lying down. You'll just place the ball right under your hip, and you can kind of roll around if you need to and get anything out. I'll also stand up and show you how to do that on the wall. So you'll stand up, take the ball, place it between your hip and the wall, bend your knees a little bit, and kind of rub up and down all around. And this kind of really lets you get into all the nooks and crannies of your hip. A nice release. While I'm up, I'll show you how I like to massage my feet. I use the super ball for my feet mostly because I have a pretty high arch, so it needs to be pretty hard to be able to reach the top of my arch. You can use the lacrosse ball, the slightly squishier one. You can use a smaller super ball, whatever works for your feet. I like to sort of step on the ball, massaging in the inside of the arch. Everyone's got tight spots in different areas, so you want to just kind of explore with a gentle light touch on your foot. And then if you find any crunchy spots or anything goofy, then stop and press a little bit. Try to breathe into it and let that tension release. You can go all over your foot. Just be gentle as you're exploring, and then as you find spots that you want to dig into more, you can meter the pressure as needed. So you don't just push really, really hard while you're exploring and then accidentally find a spot that's really excruciating and hurts a lot. Finally, if there's any time left, I will grab a bar and do releves, usually in parallel. So something like if I'm in parallel, I'll do very slow and then lower down, rising up quickly, lowering slowly, making sure I always want to do this in front of a mirror, that I'm checking that my feet are staying totally aligned between the big toe and the second toe, not out here and not out here. Really making sure that they're perfectly stacked up. Again, I have pretty wiggly ankles, so I'm constantly watching and keeping an eye on them to make sure they're doing what I want them to do. Well, that's all for today, dancers. I hope this helps you get all warmed up before class and help you find all the right muscles right from the very beginning of your class. Until next time, don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Take care.